Not every witch hides in the shadows. Some dance in the moonlight. Some whisper through fox's fur. Some are born from rebellion itself. For this Halloween special, we're crossing worlds. From the misty moors of Scotland to the moonlit hills of Italy to the whispering forests of Japan. 3 tales, 3 women, 3 faces of magic. Nycneven, the queen of witches, Aradia, the daughter of the moon, and Kuzunoa, the fox who loved a man. Each bound by mystery, each shaped by love, power, and the in-between. Because this time of the year the veils thin and their stories still walk among us. Welcome to No Wonder's Halloween special, where every legend leaves a trace. The tale of Nycneven, the queen of Elfamy. Once upon a long-forgotten night, when the veil between worlds thinned like breath on glass, there was whispered a name that stirred both awe and unease. Nycneven, queen of the unseelie court, lady of Alba's hidden folk. Some called her Nycneven, others Nycnevan, yet all spoke the name with reverence, for it was said she ruled over spirits, fae, and shadow-born creatures that haunted the edges of mortal sight. It's told that she came from the mist of the north, her origins wrapped in world's order and memory. Her name, the bards say, was born from the Gaelic, daughter of the divine, though some whisper it means daughter of Scathash, the shadow warrior legend. Others still call her daughter of the little saint. But whatever her name, her nature was never saintly. Her story was first caught in ink around 1585, when the poet Alexander Montgomery wrote of her and her nymphs in a number anew. Around that same time, a woman named Kate McNiven was condemned for witchcraft. And some said she too bore the name of the fairy queen herself. This name, wrote the chronicles, was bestowed upon her on account of her crimes. But others believed differently, that the name was not a punishment, but a lineage. For Nycneven was not merely a witch, she was Mother Witch, the great Hecate of Scottish hills, the bone mother who led her spectral hunt across the moonlit sky. Geese, her chosen birds, honked and screamed in her wake, psychopomps guiding souls through the night. And where the shadows passed, the living trembled, for it was said the queen of Elfamy was abroad. Some say she was Gar Carlin, the old ogress whose name carried the chills of Norse tongues. Others called her Caliet, the ancient crone who carved the mountains with her staff. To others still she was Habetrot, the spinner of fate. Whether goddess or witch, fairy or phantom, all agreed. She could shift her shape as easily as moonlight on water, now a hag, now a beauty, ageless and terrible in her power. Sir Walter Scott himself wrote of her. The Nycneven of the company, he said, high priestess of witches, mistress of the hell's black grammar. And she was not wrong to compare her to Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft and crossroads, for both ruled over night, death, and the unseen world. Some whisper that her seat of power lay upon Ben Nevis, that her very name, Nick Nevis, marked her as the daughter of the mountain. Others spoke of Tomnahurrick Hill near Inverness, where the fair folk danced under hollow hills. Still, others sought her as Kate McNiven Stain, a lonely stone standing where once a circle might have been, and where a strange light flickers still on Samhain eve. And what of her consort? None can say. Perhaps he never was, or perhaps she walks alone, as queens of the underworld often do. Yet once a year on Samhain night, when the worlds draw close, Nycneven rides again. She leads the wild hunt, her host of spirits, fae, and forgotten gods through the howling winds. The earth quakes beneath her passing, and geese scream in warning. If you're wise, you will stay indoors, light your heart, whisper a prayer, or perhaps a greeting. For the Queen of Alchemy does not harm those who honor her name. They say she brings protection to those who walk between worlds, teaches the hidden arts of transformation, and guards those who travel the shadowed path. So if you look at the skies of Samhain Eve and see a flicker of movement across the moon, a glint of silver hair, a flutter of wings, a host of spirits in flight, take heed. It might be Necniven, the Queen of Fairies, riding out once more with her ghostly court. And if the geese cry aloud above your home, well, perhaps she has already passed you by. The Tale of Aradia, Daughter of the Moon. Gather close, traveler, and I will tell you of Aradia, the witch who walked among peasants and gods alike. A tale born in Italy's hills and carried like smoke across centuries. Long ago, or perhaps not so long at all, there lived a man named Charles Godfrey Leland, a seeker of secrets and old magic. In the year 1899, he brought forth a book, Aradia, or the Gospel of the Witches, and in it he claimed to have found a history of Diana's daughter. Yes, Diana, the moon goddess herself, and her brother Lucifer, the light bearer. From their union came Aradia, a being half divine, half flame, sent to earth to teach the art of witchcraft to the downtrodden and the poor. She came not as a conqueror, but as a liberator, to show peasants how to fight back against their cruel lords and the iron weight of the church. She taught them spells, spun from moonlight, herbs and rebellion. She taught them to gather beneath the stars, naked and unashamed, to dance and remember the old ways. And when her work was done, then the oppressed could whisper her name with courage. She rose again to the heavens, leaving behind a hidden gospel of magic. But listen, there's another part to this story. Leland said that she did not invent Aradia. He claimed that a Florentine witch named Maddalena gave him a manuscript, La Vecchia Religione, the old religion. It was, he said, the last ember of a faith that had survived in secret since pagan times. Yet even now no one can say whether Maddalena was a real witch or a phantom of Leland's imagination. Scholars argue endlessly. Was Aradia's history, was invention? Still, beneath their quarrels ran the current of something older. Italian folklore, an ancient myth tangled together like ivy and bone. For in Italy, even when Christianity ruled, the name of Diana never died. She lingered in the stories of wise women, streghe, and night walkers who healed, cursed, and prayed to the moon. Some called her Herodias, other Janara, and perhaps Aradia was simply another name in that endless chains of transformation. And oh, how the scholars bicker still. Some say Leland made it all up, that Aradia was his dream of pagan past that never was. Others say he stumbled upon something real, a thread of witchcraft that had survived underground since Rome's fall. And then there are those who do not care whether it was a myth or a memory, because Aradia lives now in the heart of those who call her name in rituals and song. You see, her story did not end with Leland's pen. In the 20th century, her tale took root again. Margaret Murray, the great scholar of witches, read Leland and believed. She said that once, long ago, there had been a vast and ancient witch religion, and Aradia was its messiah. Later still, Gerald Gardner, founder of the modern Wicca, wove her name into its new rites. And when the winds of the 1970s brought the rise of feminist witchcraft, Aradia came a beacon. Not just of magic, but of women's defiance, of power reclaimed from the ashes of fear. To the witches of today, whether Italian, American, or beyond, Aradia is more than a myth. She is the queen of the witches, the teacher of the oppressed, the spirit that says, "You are free." And yet, shadows linger. Some Italians whisper that her story was stolen, that foreigners took her gold gods and turned them into something unrecognizable. Others welcome her return, even if she comes wearing a stranger's names. Scholars still debate, was Leland a liar or merely a dreamer? Does true faith need ancient roots, or can it bloom wherever hearts believe? Perhaps it doesn't matter. For every Samhain night, when the moon is round and the air is wild, someone somewhere lights a candle for Aradia. And through that flame, she lives again. And so, whether she was born of truth or imagination, whether she walked the hills of Tuscany or only the pages of a book, Aradia's power returns. She is the whispers of rebellion, the song of women who remember their strength, and the eternal flicker of magic that refuses to die. Look to the moon, traveler. Perhaps you'll see her there, smiling, waiting, shining still. The tale of Kuzunoa, the fox of Shinoda Forest. Long ago, in the time when the borders between the human world and the spirit world was thin as morning mist, there lived a white fox in the forest of Shinoda. Her name was Kuzunoa, leaf of arrowroot, for her fur shimmered pale as the underside of arrowroot leaves in the moonlight. One day, as the hunters of Izumi roamed the woods, one man among them sought the livers of foxes to brew his medicine. He caught sight of Kuzunoa and loosened his arrow. But before he struck, a young nobleman named Abe no Yasuna stepped forth, defending the creature with nothing but his courage. He fought the hunter off, yet in doing so he was gravely wounded. The white fox fled into the forest's shadow, but her heart was filled with gratitude. That night, beneath the silver moon, the fox transformed. Her fur melting into the robe of a woman, her eyes still bright with quiet mischief. She took the name Kuzunoa, and she went to tend Yasuna's wounds. The days turned into weeks, and from gentle care grew love. Yasuna and Kuzunoa married, and soon they had a child, a boy keen in mind and strange knowing eyes. They named him Abe no Seimei. The boy grew quickly, strong and wise beyond his years. Yet, one afternoon, as the sunlight filtered through the paper doors, Seimei glimpsed something impossible. The faint, silken tip of a fox's tail flickering behind its mother's robe. In that instant, the spell between worlds wavered. Kuzunoa looked upon her son, her heart breaking. The time had come. She could no longer remain among mortals. That night, she wrote a farewell poem and left behind for her husband to find. If you love me, darling, come and see me. You will find me yonder in the great woods of Shinoda of Izumi province, where the leaves of arrowroots always rustle in pensive mood. Then she vanished into the forest, no longer a woman, but once again the white fox of Shinoda. When Yasuna followed the path into the woods, he found her, there, radiant in her true form, eyes filled with both sorrow and serenity. She told him she was not an ordinary fox, but the guardian spirit of Shinoda's shrine. To her beloved and their son, she offered a final gift. She blessed Seimei with the ability to understand the voices of all creatures, to hear the wisdom of wind and birds and beasts. And so, Abe no Seimei grew to become the greatest onmyoji, a master of yin and yang, of balance between the seen and the unseen world. In time, the people built a shrine for Kuzunoa, honoring the fox who loved as a woman and the woman who was never truly gone. To this day, in Izumi, where the leaves of arrowroot still whisper in the wind, a spirit lingers, soft as sight, bright as the moonlight through the trees. And so the veil closes, for now. Nickneven fades back into the fog, her laughter tangled in the wind. Aradia returns to the moonlight, still teaching freedom in secret whispers. And Kutsunoa rustles through the leaves of Shinoda, love echoing like a forgotten prayer. 3 tales, centuries apart, yet bound by the same pulse. The power of women who exist between worlds. Witches, spirits, daughters of the unseen. Maybe they were never meant to frighten us. Maybe they were meant to remind us that magic is simply what we don't yet understand. This was No Wonders Halloween special. Until next time, keep listening to what moves in the dark.